Welcome to the very first Joe Cazana Promotions podcast, and I am Joe Cazana along with
the Spank.
The Spank. And tonight we've got a very special guest. As our first guest of our first podcast, I want to bring in and I want to welcome my friend. He doesn't like you very much, Dr. Tom Prichard. Doc, welcome to the first podcast, my friend.
Joe, it's always great to be first because sometimes they say you can't stay So, hey, look, it's a good thing it's Spanky. I gotta say, just on my behalf, I love the pink jacket and I love the orange mix. That's just me, Joe.
Thank you, Doc.
You know, and I totally get where you're coming from, Doc, but to look at this guy, he's definitely not Freddie Blassie. He is not a fashion plate, and that's for sure. You know what I mean? Well, just to give everybody an idea of what we're going to do, Doc, is pretty much, you know, you got all these podcasts out there. You got everybody that wants to talk about WWE, AEW, and all these other promotions. What we're here to do is discuss and talk about, you know, JCP, Joe Cazana Promotions. We want to talk about what our guests have done through the years that they've been in the business, and then we want to talk about the National Wrestling Alliance. We may, at some point throughout these shows, not necessarily tonight, hit on WWE or AEW, but what we want to talk about is what we do, which is JCP, NWA, JPWA with your wrestling school, and the first thing that right out of the box, you know, Doc, you've been in this business forever.
Over 40 years.
At least.
We're going to look at over 50 years now.
And I'll tell you, you know, in 1985 was the first time that I ever had any kind of I guess, meeting with you. And I'm sure you don't remember, because when we came back in Smoky Mountain is when we kind of became friends in Smoky Mountain. But you were in a major feud with the Dirty White Boy. And I was on the ring crew. This was in '85 for Continental. And the first memory I have of Dr. Tom Prichard, Spank, you'll appreciate this, you bled all over my white shirt.
Wow. Well, that was the key element back in those days. The drama and blood and guts, man. I mean, it was wrestling. It was professional wrestling, Joe, and you loved it. You had it in your blood. You knew you wanted to do it. You knew you wanted to be around it. So,
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I would be surprised if you even washed that shirt. But
well, I can tell you this.
I don't know.
That shirt was never worn again after that night, I promise you. But I mean, I want to thank you for being here. I know that you do a lot of podcasts out there, but I also know that in order for JCP to do what we do, if not for you, you have been literally a mainstay with JCP since the inception of our television program back in February. You've done everything from backstage, you know, being an agent backstage. You're on, you know, on the camera. You're giving advice to the guys back there and everything else.
Down in the Tennessee hills, you'll always be home, sweet home to me. Rocky Top Tennessee, Rocky Top Tennessee, Rocky Top Tennessee. Strangers ain't come down from Rocky Top, reckon they never will.
But the first thing I want to hit on is I want to kind of go back a little bit further, and I know that you've told this story a million times, but just give the people an idea of where Dr. Tom Prichard broke in, what motivated you to become a professional wrestler.
I gotta tell you, man, I watched it on a black and white TV as young as I can remember. That was the first thing I saw that really just captured my imagination. And anybody had that fear stand and see that someone doing things, you know, to capture my so it was something that I just knew at the time I had to do it. And I kept hearing I'm too small, you'll never make it. Nah, don't listen, you're going to grow out of it. Well, we all know, and you know very much so, that we don't grow out of it. It's something that lives inside of us. So it's just something that I saw from the very first memory. I mean, that was the first memory I really had from wrestling. So as I got into it, and the farther along I went, the more fascinated and in love I fell with it. You know, it's like knowing the business. Of course, it's changed since we've been in.
Sure, definitely changed.
We evolve and things happen. No generation ever stays the same.
Unfortunately, you are 100% right.
Right. And I get that. I understand that. So that's why we have to have some empathy as well for the guys coming up afterwards. We have to understand that we can't explain how we felt, but we have to kind of understand how they felt so we can help them along.
Exactly. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but you broke in out in Texas, and I believe you've told the story before that one of your first, I guess, in-ring memories or being around the business at that time was with Paul Bosch.
Yes.
And I know that you speak really highly of him. I never had the opportunity to meet him when I broke in the business. He was still around, but when I was out in Texas, it was more for the Von Erichs as opposed to when you were out there with Paul Bosch. So I know that he was a legend, and I'm sure that he. I mean, how easy was he to work with?
Paul was great, and here's the deal. I was born in El Paso, and I grew up on the farms until I was 10 years old and we moved to Houston. So the San used to come see him. Paul would tape his shows. He was an independent reporter. He grew up in the Dallas booking office, and we got mad at Fritz got mad at him, Joe Blanchard in San Antonio. So, but Paul was a huge star in Houston. He did the community boys club, civic causes around town. He was well known, and he was such a good man. He offered me $75 a week during the summers as a kid to work in the office. And I was selling shoes. My brother Ken got me a job.
Right.
I'm telling you a story in front of to the ladies behind the counter. Out of his office, he heard me. He said, "Those stories, or that job, will give you a lifetime of stories. But how would you like to work here?" And I thought, "Oh my God, I'd pay you." And I got to work in the wrestling office until I was 15 years old. Until the time I actually started wrestling. So that was all. I mean, I was at the right place at the right time.
Sure.
Back on things. I'm so grateful for the things that happen. You gotta feel grateful. You gotta be appreciative of what you have. Instead of going, "Oh my gosh, I didn't get this big push," or "Oh my gosh, I didn't get this big contract." No, I was wrestling every night.
Sure.
Business. And Paul was giving me the opportunity to be around the office to see all these things. You know, do you really want to do this? Because back then, man, it was a different business, man. You really had to fight and scratch and claw.
Sure you did.
Locker room.
Sure you did.
Locker room be accepted.
I mean, you can tell the story just like I do. The guys back then, even when I broke in, they weren't exactly too thrilled with us young guys coming in at that point. And you're talking about being 15 years old and doing stuff in the office. I can remember I was 5 or 6 years old, and my grandfather would give me tickets to hand out to the fans at the Jacobs building in Knoxville for television the next day. I mean, I was even doing stuff back then, same as with you as a young man. Let's fast forward a little bit to some of, my first memories of Dr. Tom Prichard was long before the doctor. It was Tom Prichard. You worked in Georgia for Georgia Championship Wrestling quite a bit. I saw you quite a bit, I guess over in Charlotte as well in the beginning. But as far as getting the doctor, I know the story. and I know who gave you that name, but just kind of throw it out there. Where did you come up with the name Dr. Tom Pritchard?
In a nutshell, this is what happened. Pat Rose and I were wrestling in the Memphis territory as the Heavenly Bodies. And we're wrestling in Louisville one night against the fabulous one, Steve Kurt and Stan Lane. And you worked in Louisville, yes? The Louisville Gardens?
Oh, yeah.
2 flights of stairs, and you go down. It's a cool dressing room. It's a cool building. Well, Pat and I are working the match, and Steve, we're getting, Steve tags Stan, and I'm on the apron. Stan comes over and nails me. I go down. He knocks me off the apron. I go down on my ankle. I hear my ankle snap. You can go bam, and I went, oh gosh, but I didn't think of the throw. Well, anyway, we come back from the match, and I hobble down those 2 flights of stairs. I wait, and I thank everybody, and my ankle's hurting, but it couldn't be broke. It's impossible.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, exactly. I took a shower, came back, I had to walk back up the stairs. I was riding with Juan Reynosa, who was Taurus Bulba at the time, Billy Travis, and Wendell Cool. So we stopped, and we were all living together, by the way. Taurus, Wendell, and Travis, Billy Travis, and myself. We all 4 shared a room at the Days Inn in Nashville, Tennessee. Anyway, we go from Louisville back home, and we stopped and got about, I don't know, a case of beer or 2 or 3 or 4. And I'm trying to deaden the pain. Well, we get home, and I said, look, we were both either, one of us was in the 2 beds, and one slept on the floor, one slept on the couch. I said, guys, can I please have the couch? I'm hurt. So all week, I had somebody, Sherry Martell was our manager, by the way, Pat was my manager, as the Heavenly Bodies. As the week went on, I had somebody tape up my ankle, but my ankle was getting black. And by Tuesday, by a week, my entire foot had turned black.
Oh,
Bill Dundee walked in the dressing room as we're getting somebody taping it. Goes, mate, you might want to have somebody look at that. Sherry was right behind him and said, hey, listen, tomorrow I'm going to come by the hotel, I'm going to pick you up. Her roommate, Tina, was a nurse, and we'll take you to the hospital. It won't cost you anything. We're going to x-ray your leg, just to make sure, and be no cost to you. So Sherry came by and picked me up, took me in. Sure enough, my ankle was broken. They put me right in the cast. Back then, you didn't get paid if you didn't work.
That's right.
Yeah.
That is exactly right.
Exactly. So I'm living in a room in Days Inn in Nashville with 3 other stinking wrestlers. You know what I mean?
I do.
4 guys.
I do. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, you were coming out with it. I know. Yeah.
I know. But anyway, so we go. Sherry says, I'm going to come by and pick you up. Tina and I are going to take care of you. Well, I mean, in those days, we weren't making a whole lot of money. And these ladies, man, they're great. Sherry is awesome.
Oh, she was.
On the couch. But Tina had brought me some scrubs. Doctor scrubs, because it's easy to get over the cast and stuff like that. I've got a great picture in their apartment, giving them the bird. And anyway, finally I said after 2 weeks, no, man, I can't live off these ladies. So my dad and a friend of mine came to drive my car home. And I'm sitting there about, for 6 weeks. I'm out. Brad Armstrong calls me and says, hey, are you going back to Memphis, or you want to come to Pensacola and hang out with us? I said, well, Pensacola sounds like a blast, because I turned heel on Tim Horner in Louisiana, and Horner was in Pensacola. Now they're going to show the film from Louisiana and have an angle.
Yeah.
Awesome. Get there, and I meet Robert Fuller for the first time. And Robert, Robert.
Oh, know him well.
Yeah, oh my gosh, how can you not like him?
You got to like Robert.
You got to love him. So anyway, they came up with a gimmick, for a guy. They were just hanging around, going to go out and be their cut man. Well, come to find out, he was on the FBI most wanted list, and lo and behold, I'm riding with them, Jimmy Golden and Robert, and Jerry Stubbs, and I'm wearing.
Oh, what a crew that was!
No, that was a hell of a crew. What a fun time, boy! And I'm wearing the scrubs that Tina had got me, and we stopped at 7-Eleven after Robert had already been lamenting about, boy, I'll tell you, this would have been a great angle and all this stuff. We get out, get a drink at 7-Eleven. He looks at me, sees the scrubs, says, well, boy, you could be our doctor. And I became a doctor parking lot of 7-Eleven.
Oh my Lord! Yeah, I remember the first time you told me that story. I think I fell out of my chair. I mean, okay,
Great.
Yeah. Continental was a fun organization to work with, especially in the. Of course, I was able to work with them in Alabama. You worked in both places. Then I know that when Ron actually sold, a few years later, he came back with USA Championship Wrestling. Now, I know I worked for him a little bit there. I think you were probably working in Georgia or something at that point.
No, I was in the other end. I was still in Alabama with
David Woods.
David Woods.
Yep.
Yes,
David Woods. That's right.
And Eddie Gilbert had come in to do the book, and I'd known Eddie, Memphis and stuff.
Yeah, bless Eddie's heart. What a guy he was.
What a guy. I agree.
Yep.
And so yeah, I mean, I stayed there, but Knoxville. I had worked Knoxville before, and it was awesome.
Knoxville's a great wrestling town. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, I was reared with Knoxville wrestling.
If you don't mind,
Sure.
Knoxville has great wrestling fans. They love.
They do.
Wrestling. And if you give them good wrestling, they reward you with what we go to the ring for.
And I think you said it once before. You said that the fans of Knoxville are craving the quote unquote wrestling that we used to have in Knoxville. Yes. And I mean, you hit the nail right on the head.
To this day, they still recall Whitey Caldwell.
Oh, sure they do.
Right. Yes,
they
do. Ron Wright and the Wright brothers and the Chisel.
The Chisel?
Because it's been passed down, man.
Yeah.
So that the history, the wrestling fans of Tennessee know their history.
You ever been hit with that chisel?
No, sir.
Well, it's not fun.
Well,
the very first time that I ever bled, I was hit with the chisel, and I could have killed Rick Connors. And I know you remember Rick.
Oh, I know Rick.
I never knew it was coming. Never knew it was coming.
That's even better because that was. For me, watching wrestling, Joe, and seeing things and feeling things that you didn't expect. I got hit one night. Real quick story.
Sure.
And we'll move on. But in Los Angeles, Tom Ernesto. You remember?
I remember Tom
Senior.
Mm-hmm.
You remember Tom Ernesto?
Oh, sure.
Jr.? Okay. So Junior was working as the assassin. Ernesto Senior was working as the booker. In Los Angeles, yeah. They wanted to have a grudge match between the assassin, Tom Jr., and Cowboy Tom, me. But back then you couldn't do advertising. You had to have some action in the ring. So they had us two rookie, greenhorn, ignorant son of a guns get in there, and Tom said at the end of the match, I want Junior to hit you in the eye and give you a black eye. So I have an angle we'll come back with. And he's selling it like, man, he's an auctioneer. He's great.
Well, I'm with you.
He's making it sound fantastic. Well, at the end of the, in the Olympic Auditorium, they would put the time on the wall, on the timer. And at 30 seconds go, Junior says, "Are you ready?" He hits me in the eye, split me wide open. 7 stitches in the right eye. Well, this was before TV. We had everybody around the ring, and they're talking about their matches Friday night. They couldn't do that unless they had a match in the ring. We were the match. And that night, we had to do TV, and I worked with Rick Davidson. You ever knew the Davidson brothers?
I remember the Davis brothers. I don't think I remember him, though. I mean, as far as, I probably would know him if I saw him.
Well, okay, this was supposed to happen like on a Saturday, and then Sunday it was supposed to be live. So my eye had to keep my left side to the camera, but Rick went ahead and went right after it, punched me in the eye. I got blood again, like a bloody mess. It was, that was my point is the equivalent of the chisel.
Sure.
I said, stay away from my eye, it hurts. So, okay.
Yeah, stay away from your eye.
Ow! Yeah.
That's great. Let's fast forward a little bit. Like I said, we're kind of new to this whole podcast thing, so we're on time constraints. So we're going to fast forward a little bit to the WWF. You went up there, I guess as one of the body donnas. You became.
Do
what now?
went as.
Oh, that's right. You went originally with Jimmy Del Rey as a head with Corny.
Here's how we went up there, Joe. I'll tell you the real story. They wanted Cornette. Cornette was like, he had Smoky Mountain, and it was going to be developmental territory. That was the deal. Under no illusions that they wanted us because we were huge draws. Nothing under that illusion. But they wanted Cornette. They gave us an opportunity. And so we took the opportunity, and when it ran its course, Then it became a body dominant.
Well, and, I was gonna say, as a body donna, Chris Candido was your partner. Great wrestler that he was. Of course, Sonny, Tammy was your manager. But you won their version of the World Championships, and that was definitely a feather in your cap. I mean, I know you've held hundreds of championships through the years, but it's like you said on our show last week. They just don't hand out world championships.
Right.
You won. You have to earn that championship, and the promotion has to believe in you. And what I'm leading into is not only did Vince and the whole office believe in Dr. Tom Prichard, but Dr. Tom Prichard basically at that point, after the whole Body Donna angle, you became what? The trainer of the stars. You were the actual head trainer for the WWF, and you trained people like The Rock, and I know that you've had a hand in hundreds of superstars, up there as far as training them. Who are some of the guys? I mean, other than The Rock, I mean that's a natural. We know that you pretty much taught him, and that's a definite feather in your cap because he is and he was a great wrestler, great talker. You were always a great talker. You always got your point out there. You got your point across without screaming and shouting and hollering and going on unless you had to yell. But so some of the folks that you trained up in the WWF that went on and did super stuff.
Most of the guys during the Attitude Era, but I mean, the way you really learn this is in the cars and going on the road. Have someone talk to you and be straight with you. Be honest with you. Good players want to be coached. Great players want to be told the truth. Guys like the way, and I would suggest in teaching these guys, or at least giving them a point of view. I rode with Brian Lee, Prime Time.
Oh, I know Brian well, yeah.
Yeah, me too. And Stone Cold, when he was stunning Steve Austin. Mm-hmm. And I asked them both one time, I said, Brian, who is Prime Time? What is Prime Time Brian Lee? And he was trying to tell me it's like Prime Time Deion Sanders. I said, okay, but I don't get it. Because I'm not, if I'm a wrestling fan, I might be a football fan, but I might not be. So I need to have something that's universal that makes me connect. And you, so looking at Steve, I said, what's so stunning about you? Why are you stunning Steve Austin? Steve brought this up in his podcast a few times because that was a trip I remember. And those are some of the guys that I think, once again, kind of like what you're doing with JCP right now, if I may.
Sure.
You're giving these guys a platform, and you're giving these guys an opportunity to hear your opinion, my opinion, and to be around people with different opinions. And that's all wrestling is an opinion. I have my way, you have your way, the right way. The only way does not exist. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
You're right.
But, yeah, so that's kind of how I approach teaching or helping or coaching. Doesn't matter. Not everybody's going to get your message, but I have to figure out a way, and as well as you do too.
Sure.
And you're doing a great job because
thank you.
The biggest thing is giving these guys the confidence in themselves to go out and do what they know they can do, and believing in them and giving them that belief in themselves.
Sure.
And that's really what is so great about the opportunities that's going around now, and that was going around even then. I never believed in gotcha. I never believed in trying to catch you in something that you're doing wrong. I tried to always catch you before you did something to hurt yourself.
It's always a teaching mechanism, and I've heard you say it 100 times. I mean, it's not an accident. It's not a mistake. It's an opportunity to teach. Yeah, and that's what you do, and you do that well. And and you've done that with JCP. As a matter of fact, I mean, I think you even helped Spank out quite a bit, with some of the stuff that he does. I know that you've helped Silas Mason. I know you've helped AJ Cazana. I know you've helped Kenzie Page. And all these folks that work with JCP, they come to you because, I mean, you are the knowledgeable one. I mean, I'm too busy doing 1,000 different things. That's why I'm glad you're there.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, but I don't think it's the one. I think it's just the fact that it's somebody they have become to who at least they know will hear what they say. I had a meeting with AJ just last week, and after I leave, sometimes I think, was I too hard? Was I not enough? And
did it go okay?
I thought it went great.
Good.
I really did. I really thought it went great.
Good.
You talk about potential, but learning to live to your potential. Learning that there are elements you have to recognize and you have to engage in.
And I think that we both know where that goes.
Correct.
And you're 100% right, because, I mean, in order to make it really in anything, there are certain parameters that you have to follow. And
Right.
I have followed them through my career. I know you followed them through yours. Some of the younger guys of today, they kind of, to me, they very respectful kids. They really are.
Yeah.
But sometimes I feel like that it's their makeup, the way that they were not necessarily brought into the wrestling business, but just the era that we live in at this point. We were raised completely in a different era. We were a different time. We are dinosaurs, and no offense, but we are. And again, that's why I'm so thankful that you're there. You're able to help these kids. I mean, we've got so much potential at JCP as far as our talent goes. I've said it a million times, Doc, and I'll say it again. We've got the best wrestling company, the best wrestling show, the best wrestlers in the East Tennessee Valley. Nobody can beat us.
Well, let me say this. You have the best platform for sure, because you're going to listen to the guys and hear what they want to do and hear what they have to say. Not always will the words be in the right place, and
True.
not always will they know what they're wanting to do. Do they really want to do that? I take guys like Spank. You have to understand that it's okay to try things and fail.
Sure
it's
it
okay.
is.
Yes, it's part of the process of succeeding. Learning what's going to knock you down, and learning what's going to prop you up, and learning how to do it. So I agree 100%. East Tennessee has a great professional mind behind it, and knowing that not only is it you have a vision, you also have the freedom to come across with an idea and
Sure.
present it. So yeah.
I mean, and like I said, I mean, we listen to a lot of the guys and gals there, and sometimes they've got good ideas, sometimes we tweak it, and that's okay. That's what we're there to do. It's just like with you out there on commentary. When you and I sit out there and we banter back and forth, we've got good chemistry. But we also paint that picture of what's going on in the ring. And again, that's what makes you such a good color man out there. You know what you're talking about. You know what you're doing. And believe me, if JCP, me personally, my friend Dr. Tom Prichard does a hell of a job out there. And I don't think that you give yourself enough credit when you get on the microphone like that.
Well, I think that I know I'm a lunatic, and I watch the rest of the lunatics, and I take a survey in the locker room, and I look around and I see guys like the Stu crew, and I see Zach laying down with his head under the bookshelf, and I look at it.
I remember
and
that.
I go, yeah. And I say to myself, these guys are perfect. You can't choose when you're born. You can't choose the culture you live in. You can't choose the time and day, but you can choose what you want to be. And Stu Crew especially, those guys are two guys that I have to look at. And these guys are authentic, legitimate, good people who want to go out there and are talented, want to go out there and not only perform in front of their hometown or their crowd.
Right.
They enjoy every minute being there, and
And I don't think there's anybody in there that doesn't appreciate what they're doing, what we're doing with them to help them, or anything else. And even when you or I or some of the older fellas. I mean, we've had Ricky Morton in a few times, and Buff has been there. But I know that you and I, and especially with us and with Ricky, we always kind of, like you say, we teach. We've got teaching moments, and again, like I said, I don't think there's a better teacher in the country right now than you. I know that JPWA is the top flight school in this country, bar none. I know that you're getting ready to do your, getting ready to go into your winter class next month.
yes.
I mean, right now, and Dog, they're giving me the countdown now. We got about 10 minutes left.
I know, man.
So I mean, you and I can sit here and talk for the next 6 hours or more. So let's jump forward just a little bit more. Let's go into the National Wrestling Alliance real quick.
Awesome.
We talked JCP, and we know that JCP is working with the National Wrestling Alliance.
Just check it out. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, so we work together.
Awesome.
You are an agent for the National Wrestling Alliance for the NWA. You work with such great stars as Medusa. You work with
Johnny
Homicide,
Swinger,
Pat Kenny,
Johnny Swinger. Yes.
Johnny Swinger. Yeah, I mean, the NWA is.
We got
Oh
a lot,
gosh, yeah.
A lot of talented people in there.
We've got a show, Knoxville, that's coming up January 31st. I know you're there. I'm there. Right now, I got a graphic today showing a few of the stars that are going to be there. World champion Tyrus is going to be there. Now, you know how contract signings go. So Tyrus and Cardona on a contract signing. I don't know a lot of the other matches. I know the country gentlemen are there. Anthony Andrews, AJ Cazana. The Fixers are there. Anytime the Fixers and the country gentlemen are in the building together, who knows? I mean, they're both big tag teams. They wrestled each other in New Orleans.
Yes.
I mean,
No kidding.
they're big, they're strong, they're beefy, and to be perfectly honest with you, they're probably two of my favorite tag teams at this point. I love the Fixers. I love the gentlemen. Legursky's a hoot. Bradley he's a good dude. So
Well, no. I got to tell you, Jay Bradley, I trained in FCW. I did some one-on-one with Wrecking Ball Legursky during the summertime, man. These are guys who are looking not only to be successful, but to improve every time they walk out.
Well, they're the United States Tag Champions at this point as well. So, and again, they just didn't give them to them. That you earn those.
I do agree with that 100%.
And I know that you've had, I guess you've agented some of Camille's matches as well. Camille's going to be in Knoxville, and you talk about longevity as the NWA Women's Champion. I mean, she's carried the Burke how long now?
Well, for a while, but let me tell you who we have hot on her trail right now. Young Kenzie Page.
Oh, my God, yeah.
Tremendous match with Camille the last set of NWA tapings. And she is, one thing that JCP and NWA have in common definitely is their women's division is a priority. And looking at the greatest and the best, man, looking at what you are matchmaking with people like Kenzie Page, Riley Rockton.
You mean Roxy?
Girl Ellie. Roxy, I'm so sorry. Yes, I apologize.
Yeah,
Roxy.
we'll both get a phone call on that one.
Oh, Lord. Okay, Roxy. And Dream Girl Ellie, Kylie Page, Kenzie's younger sister.
We have got to bring her on board at some point. I mean, I hear she is great talent.
She's young. The only thing holding her back is experience, and that's it. But once she gets, into past the shallow water, and then she kind of goes into the, waist deep, and then you want to bring her in and see what she's made of. But the NWA is really keen on the women's division, as is JCP. And you're talking about Camille being a great champion. I got to tell you, Kenzie is what, 20 years old. She's a one half of the women's champion.
Yeah.
She is hot on the heel.
Again, and she's a world champion as well. And
she
you said it
gave Camille
about
a
her.
great
You don't
match.
just hand them out.
No, you don't.
So
She gave Camille a hell of a match. Competitive match. Camille had to keep up with her, man.
that's incredible.
and she's
Kenzie's
awesome.
a great talent. I mean, she really. I mean, and I've told you this. You know, you did well with Kenzie. You did well with AJ. You've done well with everybody that you've ever stepped in the ring with, Doc. And I'm not trying to kiss your rear end because I don't have to. But fact is fact.
Facts are facts, and I appreciate everything you say. But here's the facts. If you don't have it inside you, I can't help it grow. There's nothing I can do. You've got to have that seed, and I can only help it grow. I can only give you some encouragement and something to build on.
Sure.
But if you don't want it, if you don't have it, man, there's nothing I can do or say that's going to make you get it. You've got to want it. And on all these people we talked about have been awesome talent, and they've yet to reach their peak in what they're going to do.
Hey, Doc, you remember what this was?
I do. I don't know what you got.
That's how much time we've got. And like I said, I mean, we've got the NWA coming to Knoxville. We're going to be at the convention center on January 31st. The very first 100% live power. I know that that we're going to start at 7. There'll be matches before. There'll be matches after. It's going to be a great night of professional wrestling, just like we had back in June at Hard Times, or not Hard Times, but Always Ready.
Always Ready. Yeah.
This is unprecedented. This is like an old school feel with the Clash of Champions.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know.
And the NWA with Billy Corgan. I didn't know Billy Corgan. I mean, I met him one time before. Then when we came for the Knoxville tapings last time, had a great conversation with him. Pat Kenny, I reassociated with.
Simon Diamond.
Diamond. Yes. Diamond Simon Diamond. So yes, the NWA is making I was going to say an attempt, but they're actually making inroads. They are making their name known. It takes time,
Sure.
but they're laying the groundwork right now, and having local promoters like yourself, like Nick Hawks in Louisiana and down in Tampa or wherever else they might run, wherever else they might go. They're looking to establish the NWA brand again. And when you have guys like Matt Cardona, you have guys like Tyrus as a champion.
And don't forget Trevor Murdoch.
Trevor Murdoch, let's not forget Trevor.
Absolutely not.
Let's not forget Tom Latimer.
Oh, no,
Let's not
gosh.
forget Aaron Stevens. Let's not forget AJ Cazana. Let's not forget Silas Mason. Let's not forget some of the talent they have acquired in their company that has really shown they have potential to be fan favorites. What I mean by that is fans will come out to see these talents because they're different.
You're 100% right, Doc.
Yeah. They know professional wrestling.
You're 100% right. We got a couple minutes, and we're going to wrap this thing. JPWA's new class starts in January. There's still time, I'm sure, to get on board with that.
There is.
Tell the folks real quick how they can get on board with that.
Check out JPWrestlingacademy.com. It has all the information. Go to the training subject matter up at the top of the link and check it out.
Well, I can say this: the best wrestling school in the country. Also, I'm going to throw this out there: the JCP YouTube channel. Go on and subscribe to that. It's free to subscribe. It's free to watch. And for the show, January 31st in Knoxville, Tennessee, at the Convention Center, go to nwatix.com. Get your tickets because this is going to be a great night of professional wrestling. Dr. Tom Pritchard's going to be there. I'm going to be there. I'm sure Spank's going to be there.
I'll be there sometime.
Yes.
And all the stars of the National Wrestling Alliance. Doc, from me to you, Merry Christmas. Tell Sandy the same thing, Merry Christmas. And I'm sure I will talk to you before the new year. But like I said, I hope that you have a great Christmas. Don't drink too much red wine or white wine.
Hey, Spank, Merry Christmas to you too.
Even Spank?
Merry Christmas,
Even
Doc, and I
Spank.
hope you can give me that prescription at some point, Doc.
Doc, it's been a great pleasure. I'm tickled to death you're here. I want to bring you back just so we can get back into some
Yeah.
more good stuff here.
Anytime.
But thank you so much for doing what you do for JCP, doing what you do for the young talent out there, both in the NWA, JCP, and JPWA. And I'm just going to tell you this. I'm Joe Cazana. This is Spank, and this is my buddy, Dr. Tom Prichard. And we will see you next week.
Down in the Tennessee hills, you'll always be home, sweet home to me. Talking about Tennessee, talking about